This podcast encourages and empowers you to create your own unique real story, develop your own unique real statement, and discover your own unique real self. The power is yours. Good morning, Thuy Pham. How are you doing on this wonderful, beautiful morning?
Good morning, Angel. I'm doing very well, so I'm happy to chat with you today.
That's wonderful. What part of the world are you in right now?
We got connected when I was in San Francisco, but at the moment I'm in France.
That's intriguing. Where did you grow up? Like, you have your accent sounds like it's mixed with a few things.
So I have Vietnamese origin, but I wasn't born in Vietnam. I only went to Vietnam for the first time in my life in 2008. In fact, I grew up in France. That's why you probably hear my French accent.
I do.
And then I moved to San Francisco in 2007, and I stayed there more than 10 years. So I think that it kind of changed a little bit my French accent too. So I don't know. I have a mix of a lot of things.
It worked out well. I love it. Yeah, it sounds great.
Thank you.
Even on your podcast as well. So, I mean, do tell us. Tell us about your podcast, please.
My podcast, I launched a podcast for two reasons. One, because I have a business I have my own business, helping people start their own online business. And I wanted to inspire them with the insights from other people I knew who were successful entrepreneurs that I met first in San Francisco and also later on online. Because in San Francisco, I met so many great friends who have their own business. And I was thinking for a long, long time, how can I share their wisdom to other people? And I thought about podcasting, but because of my accent, in fact, I was afraid of launching my own podcast. And one day I told myself, you know what, just do it. And I had friends and I had my inner circle of people who were telling me, just go for it. And I think I like to do, I like to give myself challenges. And I was thinking, you know what the worst that can happen? I don't know, maybe nobody would listen to it. So that's okay. So that's why I decided to launch the podcast. First, because of the challenge and because I wanted to share other people's wisdom.
What's the name of the podcast?
The name is Get on Your Quest. In fact, when I was a kid, I loved reading books. The do your own adventure thing, where you read the book and then depending on where you are, you can select specific options and then you go to a different page. So it's kind of do your own adventure book. So it's kind of you're on your quest. And I have always been also kind of a geek, loving to play video games. And one game that I really like was also named The Quest. And it's just you go on your adventure and you never know what happens in the game. And, I've always liked this type of thing. And I was thinking, now with the podcast, let's have it as a quest for people who want to find also their own voice and just go through the adventure of their own entrepreneurial journey.
That's wonderful. All right. So which of your talents do you think is responsible for us connecting at this specific time in history?
So maybe my first answer would be podcasting, because it's how we got connected via LinkedIn. But maybe if I dig deeper, I don't know if I would call it a talent, but I would say that we are meeting today because of my curiosity. I like to understand how things work, and I also like to get to know people when they spark my curiosity. And you did spark my curiosity. So, we got connected, I think, for maybe more than a year. And when you mentioned earlier this year that you would go for another interview goal, I told myself, I'm curious about seeing how it works and why not doing it. And it could be something fun to do.
Well, I'm glad that you came through here to have this conversation and share it with our amazing audience. Now, where's the best place for people to follow and to connect with you?
On my website, it's freshlybakedbrand.com. And from there, you can contact me.
Love the name. Yeah. Tell us about the name, please.
Because of the fact that I grew up in west of France, I have always loved baking, eating, and a big foodie. And west of France, it's where, when I grew up, I remember the smell when you are in the car with your parents and you drive and you smell the cows. So I always loved cakes or things that are baked using butter, things that are buttery, and milk and yogurt. So I'm always into baking thing, and I love bread, I guess, because of the French background. And when I had my website had a different name before, and after talking to people, and mainly when you are, in the Silicon Valley, and the same thing, I think, with my fear of having people maybe not understanding my accent, I wanted to inject a little bit of this French background in what I do. And also I love when I work with people, sometimes when I do comparison, I like to explain things using maybe food stuff. It's as if when you explain mathematics to kids, maybe you talk about apple and oranges. I like to use also baking thing or starting your own bakery and other comparison like that.
That's wonderful. Love it. Tell me one other thing that you've done consistently over the last 3 years.
I would say being in the moment. I think it's been more than 3 years even. In the Silicon Valley, for example, even before when I was in France, I worked a lot. I was always in a rush. I kind of like to work under pressure too. And at certain point, you wonder, why do you run like that? Why do you rush? And the only thing I think that I've always taken the time to do was eating. It's important to just appreciate what you eat. But then I realized that when I started to slow down, to appreciate the moment, you really feel happier and calmer in life. And even when you drive, I used to commute quite a lot in the Bay Area. So at some point, instead of just listening to the radio, I started stopping the radio and turning it off and just be with myself, looking around the surrounding, because when you drive along the Bay Area, you can have nice also things that you can see. And at some point I got rid of my car, and even when I rush, I don't rush. Even when I have to go to an appointment, I don't like to be late. But if I see nice flowers or something nice to look at, I just stop and I enjoy. So it's really enjoying the moment and be present and with your surrounding, but also with people who are with you.
How does it make you feel looking back from now to then to see the growth that has come from doing that?
That's exactly what you just said. I think that it helped me grow as a person, because you take the time to be with people instead of just be physically present with them. If you go for example, I used to meet with a friend who was in the same neighborhood, and we would say, I would put in my agenda, I meet with her at my favorite coffee shop, and you don't use your phone, you just go there and you just discuss with the person and you listen to the person. So for me, I think it helped me being more patient, be more grounded, and as you mentioned, it's a self-development thing, and you grow as a person because you listen to and you take things from the outside and not only from your inner personality.
Love it. Well, amazing audience, again, you're hearing it live from Thuy Pham. You can check her out at freshlybakedbrand.com. Love how that sounds, right? Like freshly bakedbrand.com. You can check out
That is really nice. It sounds also, it's how I want people to feel when they create something, when they do their work. It's for me, I feel happy when I think of the smell of something that is just freshly baked, and it just develop your sense, and being present also help you develop all your sense.
Totally agree. You can check out her podcast as well. Get on your quest. Well, let's switch gears for a moment now to let me invite you into my time machine that is surrounded with beautiful, warm, blue Caribbean water. Thuy, what's your earliest childhood memory?
I think it was when I was 3 or 4 years old. I can't remember exactly, but what I remember though is I was playing in a sandbox, and there was a little boy close to me, and I threw some sand in my eyes. So that the memory I have.
Ooh,
I cannot guarantee
so
my age, but
why do you
that's
think
what I remember.
So clear, though? Why do you think this memory is so clear?
I guess because it hurts to have some sand in your eyes when you're a kid. And I guess I didn't expect to have, when you play and you feel happy, I didn't expect someone just to do that to me.
All right, so if we were to dive metaphorically into this memory and connect dots around the sandbox as well as what happens when you close your eyes, how could you see it connecting to who you are today?
I never really thought about that, but if I had to connect it, I think it's so. One thing I believe in the fact that life can be short and life can be tough. You never know what happens, and sometimes I had some wake-up call that happened to me. And I think that sometimes tough thing can happen and you cannot predict what happened and how you handle it. And that's why I think you have to enjoy the moment and not postpone things that matter to you.
That's amazing. Love it. Can I offer an interpretation to the thought picture you created in my mind? Yeah. So when you spoke about the car and when you were driving, and I'd look at the music, right, as the thing that's thrown in your eye, which is just something that is there that takes you away from looking within yourself, which is you closing your eyes. So it's the pain that occurred to then have you just like think about, okay, you know what, I do not need to have this in my space, and then to then close your eyes and look into yourself and be comfortable with yourself, as you said, in that car, just looking around and seeing the growth that took you out of the box to where you are today.
I love it. I'm closing my eyes while I listen to you.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, it's a really cool picture. I like it. I love it. All right, my friend. Well, if we fast forward to when you were 12, what was your favorite song?
I think, but I'm not sure, that was Mr. Postman from the Carpenters, because when I was a kid, I spent my life after school learning music. So I was more into classical music, but my parents had vinyls, and I remember that there were some vinyls for kids, but there was that vinyl with the Carpenters, and I have several songs in mind, but Mr. Postman was something that always cheered me up because of the beat and the way it was sung. So I think that was Mr. Postman.
All right. Well, we've arrived at our destination, but before we get off of this time machine, there's a small declaration form, so it's yes or no. We're going to move pretty quickly here. Are you ready?
Yes.
Have you chosen someone to pass on your skills to?
Yes.
Are you married?
No.
Do you have children?
Yes.
Do you believe in God?
I would say that I'm on a spiritual journey.
Do you have an inner circle of friends?
Yes.
Do you watch TV for more than 3 hours a day?
No.
How about 3 hours a week?
Yes.
What about screen time, the phone and the computer? Is it more than 8 or less than 8 hours a day?
Several years ago, always more than 8, but now it depends on my priorities. Not always.
So if you had to share with us your own unique real statement, a statement that represents who you are, Thuy Pham, what would you say that is?
There's an expression that I like to use. I can't remember when I started, but it was a long time ago. It's carpe diem, seize the day. So I think that's my favorite statement, and because life is short, like I said, and I think it's really important to enjoy every moment that you can have in the day.
So this is such a great pleasure. Before you leave, is there anything else you'd like to share with our amazing audience?
Maybe just I would encourage people to take the time to think about what would make them happy, what would make them smile, and start doing more of those things, because life is, you never know what happens. So just like the same, enjoy and seize your day.
Love it.
And smile more.
Yeah, you don't need to wait for a letter from the postman. Like, you could do it before that.
And you can also receive your email. I had an email from you saying that, can't remember, you mentioned about enjoying some Caribbean sunshine, and that made me smile. Yeah. So you don't need, big things to smile. You can do it more often, easily.
Love it. Well, again, Thuy Pham, great pleasure. Thank you for being on What is Inspired by 12-Minute Convos with Angel Jones.
Thank you very much, Angel. Bye-bye.
This segment has been brought to you by Amazel Enterprise.